Several years ago, I had an experience that really stuck with me. So there was a woman that had worked her way up from the front lines of a restaurant into a corporate role. And she was now the face of the company to franchisees and corporate managers. And she'd done everything right. She had earned every bit of this seat at the table. But when I sat down with her for one of her reviews, I knew we needed to have a completely different kind of conversation. I looked at her and said, I'm going to challenge you in a way that you've never been challenged before. Because what I was seeing from her was hair that looked like the morning had never happened, no makeup, clothes that had stains, tears in them. And that was not who she was. But this was who she was, what she was putting out to the world every single day. So when I gently described to her what she was projecting, she didn't get defensive, she didn't make excuses. She said something that stayed with me ever since. She said she gets up every morning, she looks in the mirror, and she just doesn't know what to do. And that completely stopped me cold because she wasn't careless, she was just lost. And that's a huge difference. So we fixed it together. I found her hairstylist, somebody to help her with her makeup. And then I took her shopping myself because I wanted her to know that she didn't just have new clothes, she actually needed to know what to do with them and why. And watching her from that point on carry herself differently, something in her completely shifted. She had been taken seriously in a way that finally mattered and matched what she had earned. And I had people from other departments that would come to me and say, oh, what is happening here? What things are so different? It was definitely recognizable.
Julie, that story gets me every time because it's not about vanity, and it never is. It's about someone finally being seen the way they deserve to be seen.
Exactly. And so that's what today's conversation is all about. And that experience is exactly why I knew we had to have today's guest on the show. Celeste Moore works with high-performing leaders every day who are some version of that same situation, accomplished, capable, but not being seen at the level that they actually operate. So she calls it identity alignment. And trust me, by the end of this conversation, you're going to look at your closet completely different.
And I just want to say before we bring her on, this is not just a workplace conversation. We're not just talking about the boardroom today.
No, not even close. We're talking about every room. We're talking about the restaurant, the school event, the airplane.
The airplane. We'll get to the airplane.
We will absolutely get to the airplane. But first, before any of us said a single word today, people had already formed an opinion about us. Scary? Totally. But our guest says it's actually an opportunity because when you understand that, you stop dressing to fit in and start showing up to lead. So, Celeste Moore, welcome to That's Not How This Works. So give us just kind of the 30,000-foot view of what you do and why you are the perfect person for this discussion.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on the show today. I've been in this industry as an image consultant for just about 20 years next month. And it's been a journey, that's to say the least. And like you said, this is not just for the boardroom or for that, entrepreneur. It's for the people that are dating, the people that are just showing up to the grocery store. And I also am just certified as a master in my field in October. And so what does that mean? That just means I'm the highest educated, but it also means that I'm qualified to certify people in my field. And as an image consultant, I'm not just a stylist. I'm not someone who just puts together clothes and says this looks great on you. As an image consultant, we look holistically at an individual. So what does that from head to toe? Hair, like you said, makeup, when you were helping with the young lady you were just speaking about, accessories and color and fit and fabrics. And why does that all matter at the end of the day? Because we are walking billboards. We are representing ourselves in a way that's going to either build trust and credibility and open doors and opportunities, or we're going to keep them shut. And back in 2006, Princeton did a article on first impressions, and I hear along the way that it's 7 seconds to make a first impression, and then it was 3 seconds, and then it was 1. But in 2006, Princeton said it's a 1/10 of a second. And when you understand how valuable that time frame is. It's before you can even introduce yourself to anybody. What are they thinking of me? Maybe you'll start to understand how important it is to show up, not just for others, but first for yourself. It's called self-respect, self-love. When we show up in a way that not only represents us as an individual, but also showing up for the world.
Oh, that's fascinating. I can't believe a tenth of a second the impression is made that quickly. So, Celeste, you talk about leaders that have outgrown their image before they even realize it. So what does that moment of realization usually look like? Is it a single, like, hammer over the head wake-up call, or is it more of a slow dawning on somebody?
I think it happens over time because we grow over time. It's not just one day, boom, we know exactly where we're supposed to be or how we're supposed to be showing up. For example, I've helped multiple TEDx speakers get ready for stage, or just that person that now it was maybe behind the scenes and now they're a little bit more forward facing. Or it's just the woman that wakes up one day after having children and they're at a certain age and she's looking at her closet, getting ready for the day, and nothing feels like her. Those items just don't represent either who she is now or where she's going. And so this happens over time, but it's usually a moment or an experience or something that they're going to do where they just completely feel utterly lost, like nothing feels like them anymore.
That's so interesting to me, because I think people will just think that they'll just know, but sometimes it is just all of a sudden you wake up one day and you're like, just something clicks and you're like, something needs to change. You're just not sure how to do it, or how you can go about that. So
Very interesting. So, Celeste, you draw this distinction between performing for perception and leading from alignment. So for somebody who's never thought about it that way and may not even really think about things in those types of terms, unpack that a little bit, if you would, please.
When I talk about performance versus coming in and being authentic and doing your job, or just being the individual that you are, I tie that back to myself, because for years and years and years, I performed for others, meaning I dressed for others, thinking that was the way to dress for a particular job. I showed up in a way, whether it was energetically, whether it's the things that I said, not just how I dressed, because image is everything. It's nonverbal communication as well as verbal communication. And I kept trying to fit in the molds of things that we do. And we're very much designed to do that from a very young age with school, and it just kind of goes into the workforce. And I think along the way, we kind of get lost. And I know that's what happened to me. And one day I just realized that I thought that wearing brand name clothing was going to make me worthy, or like I made it, and I just remember thinking none of the clothing that I wore felt like me. And I realized that I was performing for others. I was actually trying to please others and fit into this mold. And in doing so, I lost who I was. And so I really had to kind of unpack first within my closet, just for example, if like, does this item work for my skin tone? Does it work for me? Does the energy feel good and in alignment? Does this piece of clothing feel good, or even the style? Because I think, we go through seasons in life and our style is going to change, and that's so normal. But keep in mind, start asking yourself the questions of, does this feel good? Do I like this? Try the item on and look in the mirror and give yourself an honest answer based on nobody else but yourself. And I think when you start to train I want to call it like a muscle, right? When you start to train that muscle again to trust yourself and your decisions, then you'll truly know what you like, what your style preference is, what colors feel good on you, and you can kind of move forward that way.
Well, that's great. And that's probably one thing I don't think about is like the fabric and that kind of stuff as well. So I'll start paying more attention to that for sure. So how do you help a client figure out what version of themselves they're still dressing as versus what they've actually become?
Well, typically they're coming to me because they say they have nothing to wear, for example. We've all been in this. I know I have, even as an image consultant for 20 years, I've looked in my closet and I'm like, oh my God, I have all these clothes and nothing to wear. And that's usually an indication of transformation within yourself, and nothing's in alignment. Nothing feels like you or something, I guess is what you say. But I think that's maybe the first recognition. And then understanding that, what does that look like? Because coming from someone who doesn't understand that that might be an indicator of things are changing in my life and I need to make some adjustments. That's just when a person comes to me, oh, Celeste, I have nothing to wear, or I have an event and I don't know what to wear. And so then I just unpack kind of what that is for them. It takes time. Getting someone ready for an event is great. I love it. We're successful in that. But what I found over time is that the longer I spend with a client, and that's more of like, finding pieces and integrating them into your wardrobe, decluttering, getting rid of the things that don't work for you, because that's super important to allow the new energy and the new you to come in, right? You don't want to block the energy, basically. And so when we
what
start,
was that woman's name? Marie
Kondo.
Yes, yeah. Get the things out that don't bring you joy.
Yeah. And it's so true that I use this example a lot because I think all women at least can relate to that. We hold on to maybe 2 pairs of jeans, like 2 different sizes. We have one that used to fit us when we were, at our perfect fit body that we think, and they're in there to like motivate us to like, oh, one day I'm going to get into those jeans. And actually it's not a motivator. It's actually, it does the opposite. What it's doing is every day that you walk in and you see those, it tells you you're not enough. It tells you you're never, it keeps reminding you of where you're not. And I always tell people to dress for the person that you are today. What are your goals, lifestyle? Who are you in this time frame? And where do you want to go? And knowing those answers, and maybe it takes a little bit more deep dives, right? But then finding out like the colors that work for you, that make you feel brighter, more vibrant, more energetic, and in alignment with like just who you are and where you're going, and finding the jeans that fit your body, because everybody has different body types, not just a triangle shape, but we have vertical different body types. And understanding you might not be a print girl, or you might like just solids, and understanding that all those things are coming from you, and it's so okay. That's your style and your kind of like what you feel is going to work for you to get to the next level. So I think what happens again is just, it's usually a moment where you're just like feeling overwhelmed because you don't know what to put together. And maybe you have items in your closet that will work for you, but you can't see past all the things that aren't working for you.
Definitely sounds like I need to clean out my closet. I have a whole section of, these were the jeans from before I had kids. One day I know I'll get there. Or this was a shirt that I love that maybe one day I'll get there. So I clearly need to get rid of that. I could probably get rid of about 2/3 of my closet. Because I'm like, oh, I love this dress. I wore it 10 years ago. I can wear it again. But then I keep buying new stuff that, because I've changed and, different phases of my life. So that totally makes sense.
Yeah. And I always thought that walking into my closet and seeing or thinking that I had nothing to wear was just an excuse to go shopping. But now I realize, of course, but there's a lot more to it.
I've got 30 dresses. I'm like, I'm going out of town on a cruise. I'm like, but I got to get something new. Like,
yes,
it's just, I think that's just the girly in us that it's just what we do.
Very much so. So Celeste, what are the most common ways that accomplished people accidentally send the wrong signal before they even open their mouths?
Well, I'm going to give you another statistic here because this is really, really powerful. So, like I said, when someone sees you, there's 93% is visual. So of that 93%, 55% is the way that you look. So that is how you grooming yourself, what your makeup looks like, the colors you're wearing, the fit of the clothing, everything that's visual. 38% is your body language and your tone, and 7% are the actual words that you speak. And I know that's been out there for a long, long time, but when someone hears that and understands that your message, your first introduction is the way that you're presenting yourself. It's your body language. Are you standing tall? Are you walking in a room smiling, making eye contact? Are you shaking hands properly? Are you open body language so that people can come up to you and be comfortable introducing themselves? And again, before you even get there, what colors? What is your fit? Is your fabric? Do you have a hole in your shirt? Do are your accessories look like they've been taken care of, or do they look really worn? So it depends. Like, I can get into the details, but it really, if you're a leader walking through, going, meeting people at networking events or just meetings or whatever that looks like for you, you want to show up where you look professional. Otherwise, nobody's going to take you professional.
And also, isn't it confidence too? If you have confidence, you show confidence. The walking in and the looking someone in the eye and the firm handshake, doesn't that more exude confidence and leadership as well?
100%. Yes, it does. And I think there's a lot of I like to use this because it really bothers me that there is less and less people understanding the importance of your image and how that really, how that translates. Because there's a lot of successful people out there that are wearing the hat backwards, the black t-shirts, and they're speaking on big stages. But think about, if you want to grow in this world, if you want to show up authentically, these people have already grown, they have already done the work. And if that's how they choose to show up, okay, that's how they choose to show up. I don't think I'm ever going to dress that way. That's just not who I am. So if you understand, I know we see these role models like the Gary V's, who I love, but he's making how much money, and all the bros and the guys in the entrepreneurial world think that it's okay to wear jeans, a black t-shirt, and a backwards hat. So I'm going to tell you right now, if you came into a meeting that way versus a guy who walked in a suit and they had the same education, the same background, who are you going to do business with? Keep that in mind next time you go and show up in any event or in any, even on a Zoom call. And just remember that you get 1/10 of a second to make a first impression. So.
Oh, 100% agree, especially about the Zoom call stuff. We can do a whole episode on Zoom etiquette. And it starts with exactly that. What you have on, and are you in a tank top, or are you, in a collared shirt or something professionally dressed? So yeah, definitely a huge, huge topic for an upcoming episode, I'm sure. So we tend to frame image and presence as a workplace conversation, but it really does show up everywhere. And you've kind of alluded to that in some of your discussions so far. So it's the school pickup line, the neighborhood event, the grocery store. So where do you, Celeste, draw the line between personal freedom and reading the room?
So the way that I work with my clients is like a pie chart. What percentage of the lifestyle are you? Let's just break it down in lifestyle and percentages. So maybe for you, business is 70%. That's a big part of the pie chart. And maybe 10% is churches or institutions. Maybe another 10% is, extracurricular activities or hobbies. So I sit down and I ask them, what are you doing and how are you showing up? And we look at ways, there's all different ways of dressing. There's not just, business and business casual or smart casual. There's always a way to elevate within that space that feels still comfortable and still feels like true to yourself. But I say that there's always something that you can do, whether it's the accessories or just making sure the items don't look worn even, right? Because I think we get really comfortable and we're like, oh, I love that t-shirt. I wear it, I've had it for 30 years. I'm like, but it shows you've had it for 30 years. And maybe it's time to retire that, because we want to go work out, but do we want to look like we have a 30-year-old t-shirt when we're working out? We still might meet somebody. You never know. Just like you said, the airplane, you never know if who you're gonna meet. So show up like like you want to be treated with respect and professionalism. So
One thing I've always been told, and it's more the workplace, but I think that carries over is dress for the job you have, dress for the job that you want. So to always kind of be more elevated and not just doing the bare minimum.
very true.
So when somebody is stepping into that bigger room, whether it's the board meeting, a new role, a big pitch or something, what is your very first piece of advice to them?
To know who your audience is. This is really powerful. Now, who are they and what is your message? So, like I said, you're going to always be sending that messages, whether you like it or not. It happens. But one thing I would say is to always dress one level up from your, I don't want to say just your client, but who your audience is. And why does that matter? Because you're still sending the message that you're serious, that you're elevated, that you respect yourself, you respect them. And that's really important. Like we're sending all these and like so fast, our brain is just like computing things so fast. And so think about that, because when you understand not only who your audience is and what your message is, there's ways to strategize. There's certain colors you can wear to send those messages. There's certain ways of dress. Like I have a client that is very successful in a company and owns a big part of it, but he works in the construction industry. So he's not going to he's not even going to wear a sport coat unless he's doing a meeting with big executives. But so we dress him in a way that's still elevated from the crews and all of that. But so he still has the image of like, I'm a boss, I'm a leader in this space, but I'm able to relate to my crew, to my audience.
Well, we were lucky that our mom always made sure that we were dressed appropriately. And that definitely helped us as we became adults and had to figure out some of that on our own. But everyone isn't as blessed and needs a helping hand every now and then.
Yes, that's why I'm here. I'm here to help.
Yeah. So Celeste, you said you spent years building your success, 20 years, while still performing for approval. So what did your own shift actually look like? What have you changed?
So my own shift has taken a while. This is not something that happened one day and I woke up and I was like, "Ooh, I'm doing this and this." Yes, I've been in this industry about 20 years, and even still, like in the beginning, I didn't have mentors or coaches, or like I didn't even know how to run a business. When you get internationally certified, they're like, okay, this is kind of what works in this business model. And I'm like, what? So it took a lot of trial and error. And I think in the last, I want to say almost 4 years, no, maybe 3 years. I would say the last 3 years is where I've really dove into like what I was really experiencing personally. And I think that has really moved the needle within my business, not just, financially, but actually helped guide me more and more to my purpose. And it took me asking some hard questions. It took me working on some hard, things from the past, my blocks. And I think when you understand yourself more as an individual, it'll help you be a better friend, a better mother, a better business owner, right? It just translates into all avenues of your life. And sometimes that's just not easy, but I promise that you'll get out of your own way when you do that. And that's just what's worked for myself.
I appreciate you sharing that because I think it really makes the whole thing so much more real. I mean, it's easy to think of this work as something you do for other people, but you did it for yourself first.
Yes. Yes, it was not easy, but again, like I'm here today, like living my dream. Like my work is so important to me because I get to change people's lives, and there's nothing more fulfilling, in my opinion. And I'm right where I'm supposed to be, and I'm super grateful for where I'm at. So yeah, thank you.
Oh, that's great. So what's the most dramatic transformation that you have had with the client?
Let's see. Okay. I've
Put
had
you
a
on the
lot
spot
of
here.
great successes, but there's one that really lingers for me probably be one of the most impactful. And it was a gentleman that I was working with for actually 7 years. And I know that you don't have to work with me for 7 years. It's just what works for him. He started out hiring me just to shop for him, for like him and his wife. They were going on a cruise, and then he lost 10 pounds and then he gained 10 pounds. And it was quite frequent. So it wasn't like, he was kind of yo-yoing in his weight. And then so that's when he kept his clothes, because he was like, I don't know what's going on with me. And he just was this very successful guy in his business, in his marriage, and, in life in general. And the one thing that kind of, I don't know, made my eyes like a little like, oh, wow, I didn't understand. I didn't think that the guy would be not confident with looking at himself in the mirror. So we'd go shopping, and I would be like, okay, here are your clothes, go into the dressing room, and I'd make, have him come out, and I kind of educate as I style. It's very important to me that you understand why I'm doing the things that I'm doing. And at the end of the day, I was like, okay, so what do you think? And he would never look at himself in the mirror, never look at the outfit, never. He would just like, I trust you, let's get him, let's go. And he was just kind of that guy, a really fast-paced guy. And let's see, we did that same kind of 3 or 4 times a year for about 3 years. And I just, didn't push it past that. And I remember the day he was getting ready to go on another, trip with his wife. And I got him these like white pair of jeans that he really loved, and this blue linen shirt. And I don't remember the accessories, but I do the same thing. I always say, okay, now look at yourself. Look, this is why this works so great. And look how amazing you look and all the things. And he looked at himself in the mirror. And I'll never forget, like, I was shocked, but he was like, yeah, I do look really good and I feel good. And I was just like, it made me cry, because I was just like, wow, it took this person 3 years to look at himself and feel attractive to himself, or feel that he looked good. And that was so powerful. It was like that one moment. And when I think about that, that's like why I do what I do. Whether it takes someone a month or 3 years, they get to the point where they feel so good in what they're wearing, and it represents them. So yeah, that's one of my favorites.
Okay, so that's really sweet. And that's definitely a bless your heart moment in the very, very best possible way. So,
yes.
So, very last question, Celeste, and I'm asking this on behalf of Karen and myself. So, what is your personal fashion faux pas hill that you will die on? One thing that you will never, ever do or let slide?
That's a list. There are a lot of things I won't do. But I think fashion is for breaking rules sometimes, because you don't know until you try something. But for me, I would say following trends. That is where I am very, very passionate about. Because one particular item is cute on somebody does not make it cute on everybody. And when you can identify that, when you understand your personal style, you'll never wear anything else. So yeah, I'll never follow the trends.
thank you. That's so validating.
Yes.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
Thank you.
There's several
There is
trends that will never, ever be on this body anymore. So,
Yeah. Of the two of us, I'm very, way more trendy than she is. She's steady Eddie with her
very classic.
wardrobe. Yeah. And I tend to kind of venture out a little bit. And so,
Well, it's okay to be adventurous. I 100% agree with that. But when I think what I'm referencing is like, just for example, someone, these influencers, and they're like, this is the it jacket for fall. You have to have this jacket. If you don't, and then you get the jacket and people think, well, okay, I got to have this jacket. And I get it's a marketing ploy, but you get the jacket and you're like, okay, the style doesn't work for me. It doesn't feel like me. The color, why don't I look so good like she does? We're doing this comparison and it's cutting us down more and more. We're like, oh, well, I spent it, so maybe I should wear it, or do I send it back? Like, this whole thing, and understanding when you know all the things about you, you know your best colors and style and fit, you can adventure. If something comes out and it like represents you, try it, or try something you never thought you would. But I think when there is this trend out there, like this is the it color, everyone should wear this color for, XYZ, and it just know that you don't have to do that. And for me, I don't follow the trends in that way. Do I know what's trending? Of course. Do I have likes of what's actually on runways? Yes. And things that would never, ever work for me. So, yeah.
Yeah, I totally get you there because remember that trend a few years back where all the jeans were bedazzled on the back pockets?
Oh.
And I was like, why would you want to draw more attention to that? Like,
Or even sit down. That
sit
cannot
on
feel
it. Yeah,
good.
that cannot be comfortable. But yeah, I didn't get into that trend at all either. I just completely let that pass me by because I thought that is not an area of my body that I want to bring attention to. So we're just gonna skip that whole thing.
Yeah.
You made such a good point, and I know we've got to go, but like maybe your bottom half right there is bigger and you don't want to enunciate it. Like for those people that have like flatter butts, or for example, or smaller hips, maybe that's something they want to accentuate to make look like it's bigger than it is. So there's all different ways to implement. And yeah, for you, you're like, nope, that is not going on my body. And you listen, so that's good.
Yeah, drew a hard line there for sure. So Celeste, thank you so much for being here. This was fantastic. This was exactly the conversation that we hoped it would be. So we appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. And I'm always here to give words of advice, or just if you have any questions, you can always find me on Instagram and just DM me. And it's me you're talking to, and I will answer any questions that you have. So thanks again, ladies.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much.
Alrighty. Thank you, Celeste. So, okay, Karen, we're going to take a little detour now because we can't do an entire episode about clothing and what it says about us without talking about some of the classics. So, are you ready?
I have been ready for this my entire life.
I know you have. So, let's start with one that is the argument at every Southern dinner table. White after Labor Day, still a thing?
Still absolutely a thing. And can we add before Easter? Because that window definitely matters.
Oh, hard agree. The only exception is if you're in a tropical vacation locale. That's it. Okay, next one, and I need you to brace yourself on this. Pajama bottoms outside the house.
Julie, we are not doing this.
Oh, we are doing this because it's happening. I see it at the grocery store. I see it at a restaurant.
A restaurant?
A sit-down restaurant, yes.
Oh, bless their hearts.
I know. Bless every inch of their fleece-covered heart. And then that gym to everywhere pipeline. Lululemon, sports bras, leggings is a complete outfit for every occasion.
Now, wait. I want to be fair here. There is a version of athletic wear that I think is perfectly put together and appropriate for some settings, but there's also a version that's essentially underwear in public. Those are two very different things. And I've always said underwear goes under your wares, your clothing. So some of these girls definitely do put on a t-shirt before they go out in public.
That's a very generous distinction there, Care. So what about flip-flops at a funeral?
Absolutely not.
At a wedding?
Nope.
Church?
Why are we even discussing this? No.
Because it happens. It happens. Okay, ripped jeans to a job interview or a nice restaurant.
Well, the rips cost extra, and it's still not appropriate, especially in Nick Saban's book. He talks about that a lot.
Oh, he absolutely has. Okay, and this is one that's probably a little controversial. Baseball caps indoors at the dinner table during the national anthem.
That one genuinely bothers me, and especially our mother. And there's a time and a place to take the hat off, and most people just used to know that without being told. But did you see the ending of the Masters the other day after Rory McIlroy won and he was heading to the clubhouse? Every Masters executive or, all the Augusta National members in the green jackets, every time he went up to them, he took his hat off to shake their hand, put it back on, see another one, shake their hand. And it was just a sign of respect. And that's really what this is.
Yes, and the key phrase there is used to. Um, I think people have either don't know or forgotten or whatever. I was at a conference last week, and the keynote speaker in one of our sessions, a male, wore a hat. It wasn't a baseball cap, wasn't a cowboy hat. It was like a dress hat, indoors in the middle of the day, and just not appropriate to do.
I think that's only appropriate if it's a cowboy. Was he a cowboy?
No, no, he was the furthest thing from a cowboy. Definitely not.
Well,
No.
that was definitely a bless his heart moment.
Yeah, yeah. So the thing about used to, I think that's what we're going to get into in a future episode, because what's acceptable to one generation is completely foreign to another. And our listeners have a lot of feelings about that.
Yes, a lot of feelings about it.
Yes, so consider this your official warning. But first, I have an airplane story I have to get off my chest.
Oh, I know this story.
Oh, yeah. You weren't even there.
Oh, I know, but I'm still not over it. I still
Yeah,
can't.
I know. It was ridiculous. So I'm sitting on an airplane going to Orlando, and an entire middle school or high school cheer squad came in. Couldn't tell which one it was. And these girls, it just bless their hearts. They had on nothing but Lululemon leggings and sports bras. Full midriff showing on a commercial flight in public.
Nope, not right.
Yeah, and here's where the story gets really good. So the mothers were dressed exactly the same. And I don't care if you have the same body as the wife on Landman, and this isn't about body type. That attire is not acceptable on an airplane.
I can't believe the mothers wore that too.
Oh, yeah, same leggings, same sports bras, same everything.
So it's definitely not a case of the kids not knowing any better.
No, it was being modeled from the top down. And I sat there thinking, this is an airplane, not a gym. This is a shared public space. You're sitting approximately 4 inches away from another human being for 2 hours. There's a context. There's a room to read, and nobody read it.
And that's really what this whole episode is about right there, isn't it? It's not about fashion. It's not about being fancy. It's about understanding where you are that matters.
And who else is in the room matters.
And your outfit is saying more before you even open your mouth. And that matters too.
Absolutely.
So before we sign off, we just want to say thank you, truly. The response to our first episode has been something we did not expect. And we're so grateful for every single person who listened, shared, and took the time to reach out.
And the comments have just been great. But Care, one thing kept coming up again and again.
Generational differences.
Yep, those generational differences. So what's acceptable to one generation is completely foreign to another. And apparently we're not the only ones that have noticed.
You all have thoughts, and honestly, so do we. So that conversation is coming, a whole episode just on that.
So consider this your official warning. And in the meantime, we want to hear your bless the heart moments. You know you have them. The moment you witnessed something and just thought, oh, bless their hearts. So send them to us at hello@thecivilitySisters.com.
We may just feature yours on an upcoming episode.
And you can also go to our website and subscribe to our newsletter. It's thecivilitySisters.com. You'll never miss what we're getting into next.
In the meantime, please keep listening, keep sharing, and keep trying, just a little at a time to bring civility back.
That's exactly right. And we'll see you next time on That's Not How This Works.